The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 178.
Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of courageous women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Want to learn how you can change your inner beliefs and attitudes? Download a free copy of the ebook by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com.
Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady. She is here today to share her story. She is the founder of Kaleidoscope Content, and, I'm just excited to have her on. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Christina Chan. Christina, how are you? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, sure. I'm doing good, thanks. Well, a little bit about my background. I'm originally from the city of San Francisco. That's where I grew up, spent most of my childhood and kind of young adult life before I moved to Los Angeles. And it's now the city I call home. It's where I've been living for many years now. As you mentioned, I'm the founder of Kaleidoscope Content, and that provides basically ghostwriting and content services to coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs. And I'm especially fond of projects that promote positive social change in some way. Prior to that, I freelanced as a writer for over a decade, writing for magazines, blogs, doing a bit of copywriting and web content. But I really have a pretty eclectic background. I have a degree and background in architecture. I've been involved in theater. I've done a bit of acting, and I'm currently working on my book, tentatively titled The Author's Checklist Guide to Working with a Ghostwriter. And I'm also the newly minted chapter leader for the Los Angeles branch of the Nonfiction Authors Association.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Christina, what's your cultural background?
I am a second-generation Chinese American. Both my parents are originally from mainland China. I think they came here, they immigrated separately when they were probably about late teens, early 20s, and then they met over here in the U.S.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Well, I'm kind of a big fan of quotes in general. I think a lot of words, and I guess being a writer, verbiage can be really inspiring. One that I really like is this one. It's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's by Henry Ford. I really think this is true because if you don't think you can do something, you really just stopped yourself cold because, that's your mentality and that's your belief and there's no going up from there. But if you do believe you can do something, it's something, you might be able to do it on the first try, you might not. It might be a struggle, but I think if you believe and you take consistent and continual action, the possibilities are really endless.
I love it. And I agree with you. It all depends on how much you believe in yourself. And, it's not like you're always going to get it on the first try, right? They always say a master was once a disaster, and we all have to realize that, right? I think we've just been so programmed. It's like if we don't get it on the first try, we fail. But, most entrepreneurs, most people who do great things, they kept on doing it until they found the outcome. Like, Kentucky Fried Chicken, he got 1,000 no's before he got a yes on building Kentucky Fried Chicken, or, I'm trying to find other people. But the point is that it all depends on how much you believe in yourself and how much you're willing to keep on doing it until it's done. So great quote. And, in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Well, to me, self-confidence is really knowing who you are and believing in your abilities, even if you have opposition to that. And I think if you're somebody who takes a stand for something, it's inevitable that you're going to get some opposition. Not everybody is going to agree with what you have to say, and some people might love what you have to say and some people might hate it. And really, that's just life. But self-confidence to me is really owning who you are inside and out, flaws and all. And it's having the courage to do what you set out to do, accomplishing something that you've never done before, and really trusting your own instincts in the process.
I love it. Those are all great definitions of self-confidence. And it's true. They say, if you're in business, especially you're doing something for yourself, you're successful, you're always going to have haters. So, instead of focusing on those haters, focus on the people who are, who love what you do, and just keep going. Because, no matter what, you're going to get judged. So you might as well do the stuff that you love to do. So great definition. And, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I think very different, very, very different. I didn't grow up in an environment where self-confidence was taught to me or even really instilled in me at all. And I think I didn't really have it for a very long time in my life. When I was younger, I viewed life through a much narrower mindset. I was always very much the recipient of, what was happening to me and how did I feel about it and what did I think about it. I think growing up, there were certain expectations I felt, really, that it was like sort of the very typical Asian thing, like get good grades, go to a good college, get a certain type of job, and then, they fall under attorney, engineer, doctor, etc. And I found it very restricting, like I couldn't be myself. And I think to try and fit in, I kind of developed this sort of fear of being just really saying what I thought, and I would have rather have said what I thought other people wanted to hear more often than not. And I don't know, I think it was really suffocating, like I was playing a role that wasn't really quite me.
You know what? I think it's what most, especially Asian women go through. We've been programmed to just follow this one path, and if we don't follow it, it's like the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, till this day, my grandmother's like, "Why aren't you married yet?" She probably thinks I'm like the oldest maid she's ever met. So, but I mean, times have changed, especially nowadays. It's 2016. We have so much opportunity out there, and it's a shame that, we're still being told to just go to school, get a job, and just, get married and never say anything for the rest of your life, right? And, which is why, I created this podcast, because I really want people to realize there's so many things out there other than just going to school, get a job, and get married, especially if it's not your path. So, what was that point in your life when you realized, you can step out of that path, right? You don't always have to be so rigid. You don't have, you don't have to follow what people want you to do. You decided to do what you wanted to do.
Well, I kind of feel like I've had a lot of sort of epiphanies along the road, along the journey, but the one that I most vividly remember was shortly before my son was born, and I was really thinking like, wow, there's got to be a better way. At the time, I was part of this culture that was really very old school, and it wasn't a place that was necessarily supportive of a daughter-in-law being able to speak her mind or even making substantive decisions for herself, and it was a really difficult place for me to be in. And I just knew, like deep down in my gut knew there had to be a better way. And since then I've been on a continual path towards really self-discovery and like done a lot of inner work to discover who I am and my purpose in life, and not someone else's definition of me or, what someone else thinks I should do or what's good for me. Because I think when it comes down to it, if you really pay attention, like who knows you better than yourself? And it's really been a process. And since sort of having that epiphany, I think I now view life with a different lens. I mean, I really try to live with intention, and I try to see things from different points of view. And, not everyone is going to automatically think as you do or be able to read your mind. And I think just being able to be authentic and really feel like, you're living your kind of like true, like who you are is I'm 100% happier because of this. And I think it's really learning to be happy with who you are and, where you're at in life, no matter where it is, and not comparing yourself to other people. And I think that's a big part of it, as well as I think gratitude is also a big thing. I have a daily journal where I jot down goals, even small goals, and especially those, because I think getting to where you want to be in life is not one big step, but one small one continuously over an extended period of time. And gratitude is a really great foundation for that, because it helps you to remember everything that you've already achieved and what you already have in life, and just be appreciative of that and kind of live in the moment, rather than expecting the happiness to, come when you've kind of quote unquote arrived at that place.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And it's true, right? People forget to celebrate the small wins, and small wins are really important too, because, if you can't celebrate the small wins, how do you expect to celebrate the big wins? Which is why it's so important to just celebrate everything that comes to us. And, I agree with you on that. So, Christina, to the woman who's listening to your podcast, she may be in a similar journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's hard to narrow it down to one tip, but I think one key to really getting that self-confidence is to see your own strengths. I mean, really be yourself and don't try to be anybody else. I mean, not to say that role models and mentors aren't good, because I think they're a really effective and essential way of growing beyond perhaps what you can even see for yourself. But strive to make the best of what you're good at and capitalize on that. And if you're on a journey to self-confidence, I think it's really important to find people who believe in you as well, who support who you are and what you're trying to achieve. I think that's absolutely essential. And then, get yourself to a point where you can really believe in yourself. And I think it's important to remember, we all as human beings have good days and bad days. I don't think anybody on this planet is 100% confident all of the time. I think, the key is to face, whatever it is that holds us back and just keep moving forward. Because for myself, I say it's not that I'm never afraid. It's just that I find that fear gets in the way of whatever it is I'm after. So I think really it is, for me, the key is keeping your eye on the ultimate goal and then really enjoying the process while you're getting there.
Those are some great tips, and I love that. And I love what you said, see your own strengths, because, especially as women, we always see all our weaknesses and our flaws, not realizing we have so much skills and talents out there that we can use to make our lives better. So, Christina, if our listeners want to get to know a little bit more about you or your services, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Sure, they can find me via my website. It's kaleidoscopecontent.com. I'll spell that because that's difficult. It's KALEIDOSCOPE content, CONTENT.com. Or they can just, my name, it's Christina E. Chan, all one word. Christina, my middle initial, Chan.com. It'll go there as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, you can also head on over to thetowofselfconfidence.com and search for Christina's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Christina for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sheena, for having me here.
It was my pleasure. To the listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing women's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetowofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about today, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more. Subscribe to The Tao of Self-Confidence on iTunes or Stitcher to hear more stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence.